They called themselves the HFY Collective, a thousand-world empire bound by logic, order, and an unshakable belief in their superiority. When they came to Earth's doorstep, they did not come with fire, but with a treaty, or so they claimed. The Treaty of Coexistence, as the HFY named it, was nothing short of surrender disguised as diplomacy. Their envoys arrived in grand ships, vast crystal constructs that shimmered with energy fields brighter than our skies. They spoke of peaceful integration, shared governance, and protection under the collective. Earth listened. Humanity, scarred by centuries of war, wanted peace. We sent our best diplomats, ambassadors from the Terran Union, to discuss terms at the neutral station Concordia Prime. But peace was never the HFY's goal. The broadcast came only hours after the summit began. Every human channel, every interstellar relay, was hijacked by the HFY feed. The transmission showed the human envoys, bound, beaten, and kneeling before the HFY's supreme executor. He spoke in a voice both calm and cold. Humanity refuses to accept the logical order of peace. They reject unity. Their defiance endangers galactic stability. Therefore, Earth's leadership must be restructured. Then, one by one, the human envoys were executed, shot through the skulls by plasma lances that disintegrated their bodies before they hit the floor. The HFY fleets surrounding Concordia Prime opened fire, vaporizing the station, its crew, and the attending human escorts. In a single instant, 10,000 souls were gone, and the HFY called it a surgical act of pacification. They believed they had ended the possibility of war before it began. They were wrong. The calm. Before the inferno across the galaxy, the HFY celebrated. Their propaganda spread like wildfire. The human threat is neutralized. Their generals boasted that Earth would fall in months, if not weeks. To them, humanity was a primitive species, a young race of warm-blooded, impulsive savages whose time had come to bend before order. They saw our restraint as weakness, our diplomacy as fear. HFY fleets began peacekeeping patrols across human space. Colonies were occupied, civilian ships were seized. Those who resisted were labeled insurrectionists and executed on the spot. Their broadcasts were triumphant, almost gleeful. "We bring peace," declared Grand Strategos Tiran Vec, as he watched human prisoners loaded into containment cubes. "And soon, humanity will thank us for it." But far beyond the occupied colonies, Earth was silent. No broadcasts, no statements, no pleas, just silence. The HFY intelligence networks interpreted it as paralysis. They saw no fleet mobilizations, no troop movements, no signals. They called it a sign of surrender. They did not understand what was coming. Human silence is not weakness. It is breathing before the scream. The breaking of the silence. 3 weeks after the Envoy massacre, the first sign appeared in the void. HFY patrols near the Proxima Gate detected a communications anomaly. A low-frequency burst repeating across 100 light-years. It was a phrase encoded in dozens of ancient Terran tongues. We remember. At first, the HFY dismissed it as human propaganda. But then, one of their forward bases, Station Serion 5, went dark. When a rescue flotilla arrived, they found nothing. No debris, no radiation. The station had simply vanished, reduced to dust by kinetic bombardment so precise that not even the planet's magnetic field was disturbed. And above the site, carved into the moon's surface by orbital strikes, were 2 words visible from orbit. Peace denied. Then came the next signal, from Luna Command, broadcast to all frequencies. To all Terran units. Directive Ignis enacted. Hostile entities identified as HFY Collective. Engagement authorized without restriction. Objective: termination of hostile sovereignty. The word spread across the colonies, through the deep stations, into the hidden shipyards under Titan's seas and Mars's iron crust. And across the darkness, humanity began to move. Fleets that had been ghosts for decades emerged from silent orbits. Dreadnoughts once thought mothballed lit their engines. Asteroid mines transformed into launch platforms. Civilians volunteered in droves. Earth's silence shattered, and what followed was the roar of awakening steel. The HFY had started a war they could not comprehend. The march of retribution. The first counterstrike came at the Velisar cluster, the main Ger staging ground in human space. The collective's admirals expected a token resistance, raiders, perhaps a few militia ships. Instead, they found the Terran Fifth Fleet, 30 capital ships strong, led by the dreadnought TNS Resolute. The battle lasted 6 minutes. Human rail cannons, long mocked by the Ger as archaic, tore through energy shields and composite armor alike. Each impact released megatons of kinetic fury, turning cruisers into clouds of molten glass. Ger admirals tried to retreat. They never got the chance. Human forces didn't chase. They didn't negotiate. They eradicated. The collective's orbital defenses were hacked, reprogrammed to fire on their own ships. Their command relays were jammed with continuous human broadcasts repeating one phrase: "This is not peace. This is justice." From there, the war spread like wildfire. At Cygnus Gate, a Ger armada was ambushed by cloaked Terran strike groups. At Rathan Prime, the orbital foundries that had built the Ger's invasion fleet were bombarded until the planet itself cracked. And through it all, the humans said nothing more. No threats, no boasts, no surrender offers. Just execution. The day the stars burned Ger historians would later call it the Cinder War. It began when humanity's combined fleets crossed into the Ger Heartworld sector, a move no enemy had ever dared attempt in the Empire's 1,000-year history. The Ger High Council still believed they could reason with the humans. They sent transmissions offering a ceasefire, reparations, even joint rule. They thought logic could prevail. But logic had died with the envoys. When their message reached the Terran Command flagship TNS Nemesis, no reply was given. Instead, the human fleet changed course, directly toward Ger Prime itself. As the Ger homeworld's defense grid came online, the sky above it turned black. Not from nightfall, but from the shadows of 1,000 human ships. The bombardment began without warning. Orbital strikes hit in precise rhythmic waves. Every command center, every orbital defense node, every shipyard, gone. Humanity didn't glass the planet, they peeled it. Layer by layer, orbital bombardments stripped the atmosphere, burned the continents, and boiled the seas. Millions of Ger screamed across the networks. Billions tried to flee. None escaped. The Terran fleet moved methodically, mercilessly, ensuring no refuge remained. Then, as the last cities fell, the Nemesis broadcast one final transmission across the galaxy. This is humanity's peace, and with that, the bombardment ceased. The planet Ger Prime, once the jewel of an empire, was now a blackened husk orbiting a dying sun. The ashes of arrogance, in the aftermath, the Ger collective ceased to exist. Their fleets shattered, their leadership annihilated, their systems abandoned or taken by others. The survivors, broken, scattered, terrified, became refugees. They spoke in whispers about the humans. They called us the Silent Flame, because we do not rage when wronged. We do not threaten. We remember. We build. We prepare. And when we finally act, we burn away all trace of the ones who thought us weak. For decades afterward, the galaxy was quiet. Empires that had once mocked humanity suddenly sought friendship. The treaties once filled with condescension were rewritten in respect and fear. The few surviving Ger emissaries wandered through neutral space, haunted by the silence that preceded the fire. They tried to warn others. Do not mistake their peace for submission. Do not provoke their stillness. They are not like us. But no one listened, until they saw what remained of Ger Prime, the whisper. That followed, years later, in the void. Beyond the old Ger territories, a derelict relay buoy was found still transmitting a human code. The message was simple, repeating endlessly across the dark. To those who seek peace through domination, know this: humanity remembers. We offered open hands. You answered with blood. And now your silence is your only peace. The galaxy never forgot. Every race, every empire, every ambitious conqueror carried the same whispered warning in their halls of power. Never provoke Earth, because humanity does not conquer for pleasure, nor destroy for glory. But when pushed, when peace is twisted into submission, when their kin are slaughtered under the banner of order, humanity answers with the fury of 1,000 suns. And that fury does not fade. It does not tire. It does not forgive. The Jair wanted peace, and they started a war instead. They wanted obedience, and they found oblivion. And long after their ashes cooled, the stars still bore silent witness to the truth. Humanity's patience is vast, but their vengeance is infinite.